Emma Woolf, very good morning to you. Hard not to see all of this, heavy defence stuff going on this morning in the papers, and there was a lot of it around yesterday with John Healey. But you can't help feeling this is all a bit like Keir Starmer playing soldiers, isn't it?
It is. Why is John Healey out there, as you say, sabre-rattling?
Yeah.
Why is... They haven't even launched the Strategic Defence Review yet. It hasn't even launched, and already...
It's still in dry dock.
It's still in dry dock. I think he's launching it at a dockyard.
Yeah.
No doubt there'll be about 3 fishermen who've been paid a fiver to stand around and look really enthusiastic.
Yeah.
It hasn't even been launched, and it's already falling apart. The wheels are coming off.
Yeah.
They're in disarray. The pledge has become an ambition.
An ambition.
This thing. Do you think Putin's really, really terrified about this? And, Mike, what's really getting to me is this is their 10-year defence spending review, and I'm thinking... I think in 10 years' time, this whole period will just be like a bad nightmare. It'll be a bad dream, like a bad hangover you look back on and think, oh, that was not a good night.
Do you remember when we used to think that Labour could actually run a country?
Do you remember when Labour were in charge for I don't know, a year? Wasn't that a terrible time? Look at all the damage they did. Maybe we'll never get, maybe they won't be even in existence in 10 years' time.
Well, one of the things that's obviously an ambition which they're not going to reach is the next Parliament, because they keep saying that this 3% spend on GDP on defence is going to happen by the next Parliament. Well, that's already 4 years away.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. If we're supposed to be on a war footing because Russia is threatening us right now, in 4 years' time, we might have been obliterated, presumably.
Well, exactly.
What's the point?
What is the point? And also, I think you made a really good point. They haven't said anything about what happened over the weekend when we topped, well over 1,000 people crossing on Saturday.
Yeah.
We don't have the numbers from Sunday yet. Nearly 1,200 people. The photographs on Saturday and Sunday of those overloaded dinghies with fit, strong young men, mostly young men, coming over here, some of them with their faces covered, smoking on dinghies, coming over here, pretty much being escorted by the French police, certainly the French border police, watching, just standing and watching, some of them filming it on phones.
So, I mean, they're not really qualified to be called small boats anymore. You can see the French police there standing, actually taking pictures as they wave au revoir.
And we are giving them nearly £1 billion, £500 million over the 3-year period.
Right.
And the French, even lefties now, are admitting the French are doing nothing with that money.
And we're being told, oh, don't worry, they're going to change their rules in France so that the police can actually go into the water. But what are they going to do?
That's going to terrify the people smugglers.
Yeah, but what are they going into the water to do? The French don't want them there. They want them to go
They want them to get them out.
allez,
bon voyage.
that way. Off you go.
Yeah.
We don't want to see you. So what idiot? It was a Tory idiot, I think, that came up with the idea of giving them money to stop them from coming. And, of course, they've never stopped them from coming.
It's never stopped them. There's no... And people talk about, well, what's happening in their countries, da-da-da-da-da. We are just a soft touch. There is no deterrent. No. They're coming here because they can, because they will be welcomed and given all the other things that we've talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
So that is very clear now. And also, when you look at those boats, it's quite a professional operation.
Oh, it's a very professional operation.
This is not young men big families clinging to sort of wooden vessels that are drifting into our waters. These are big, what do they call them, RIBs? These are...
They're military strength boats. You could invade a country with these boats.
Seriously. And how are they getting launched? And how are they getting transported down to Calais? It's just absolutely
ludicrous. And since the election, the new number now is 38,053, just since Labour got in.
Exactly. And it's thought that even just this year, I think we're up to nearly 15,000 this year. It could, and you said, 1,000 a day, 1,200. Nearly 1,200 on Saturday. And I looked up how many babies are born every day in this country. 1,600 babies. So we're getting to the point where the amount of people born in this country, when you have a day like Saturday, you can't go on like this. And
an awful lot of those babies that are born in this country will already have parents who were not born in this country, because that is also a big thing.
And when you ask, where are the women and children on those boats? Where are the people fleeing war-torn countries? They say, oh, but it's not safe for them to come. Well, what are they doing then? They leave your women and children in an unsafe country, cross over here, by the way, through France, which is a safe country, through all of Europe, which is a safe...
It doesn't compute, does it? Let's see what John Healey said. I mean, this is him yesterday talking on TV. He's the Defence Secretary, saying we've lost control of our borders.
Pretty shocking, those scenes yesterday. The truth is, Britain's lost control of its borders over the last 5 years. And the last government last year left an asylum system in chaos and record levels of immigration. I think yesterday tells us a really big problem, which is you've got French police unable to intervene and intercept the boats when they're in shallow waters. That means we saw it. We saw the smugglers launching elsewhere and coming round like a taxi to pick them up. Now, one of the steps, and this is a complex problem, but one of the steps we've now got is the new cooperation with the French, and an agreement. They'll change the rules so the police can intervene in the water as well as on the shore, and that will help to make a difference.
How is it going to make a difference? Intervene to do what? What, to arrest them?
Absolutely.
For doing what?
Pathetic.
What are you going to do? Arrest somebody for leaving the country? How can you arrest somebody for leaving the country?
Of course you can't.
It's a bit different from smashing the gangs, though, isn't it?
I was going to say, what was the original thing? Smash the gangs.
Yeah.
So what, you were going to go to the source and you were going to sort out the people smuggling
Smash the gangs.
But do you remember, he did find that Turkish bloke who was the brother of someone who made a fan that went inside it. I mean, what was all that about? That was a big announcement.
Yeah.
That was one guy about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Well, that's clearly had a really deterrent effect on the gangs.
I know. Absolutely ridiculous. And Starmer keeps... we've got a video which we'll play later, which he talks about, you know, secure at home, strong abroad. I mean, we're not secure at home because we can't even secure our own borders. You've got the Defence Secretary, the Secretary of State for Defence in this country, saying we've lost control of our borders. We've lost control.
And this big thing they're launching today, their strategic review...
Yeah.
You are right. People are so much more concerned about what is actually happening now on a daily basis to our borders, our actual borders, not this nebulous idea of, you know, yeah, of course there's a nuclear threat. Of course we've got to be thinking long-term about Russia. Of course, all of that. Yeah. But right now, what's happening?
But that's a constant, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a constant. We should be on top of that anyway.
Yeah.
We should be investing this anyway. You can't build all this stuff, as you say, within 5 years, let alone 10 years, probably.
I've no idea how long it takes to build a submarine, but I'm pretty sure it takes them a long time to build a house in this country. I think a submarine's probably a bit more complicated, isn't it?
Exactly, and HMS this, that and the other. They take...
It's got to be waterproof.
They take years. No, I mean, I think this is a complete joke, and the fact is, people are crossing right now. They're not saying much about that except for, oh, it's out of control. Yeah,
it's out of control. And, I mean, this is only the beginning of summer. You know, we've got the whole of June to go, 2nd of June today. I mean, potentially, you could be looking at, say, another 3,000 to 4,000 to 5,000, maybe, between now and the end of the month. I mean, that is a low estimate, I would say, and that will push the numbers up to sort of towards 50,000.
Exactly.
Since Labour got in.
Especially when you have
we get
good weather.
The year anniversary of them getting in on July the 4th, I reckon we're going to be not far off 50,000 that have come.
By July?
Yeah.
That's a bold prediction.
It is a bold prediction.
They're saying 50,000 for the year, but you think we could be there by July. Well, maybe. And I think all of this, these images, just embolden the people trying to cross. Yeah. Because they can see it. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening to stop them.
Right. And when they see that many people successfully reaching the other side, then they're going to... Why on earth wouldn't they go for it? You know, of course they're going to do that. But this government's strategy seems to be all wrong. It's a bit like, you know, we found out at the weekend that the vaping, it's now illegal to sell disposable vapes, right? But instead of just stopping selling them, they told everybody we're not going to be selling them after Sunday. So what do you think happened? So all the retailers discounted them. So all of the disposable vapes in the country have now been bought up by the people who are now going to smoke them even though they're illegal.
There's also evidence that people are getting around the rules on that. You can call them electronic rechargeable devices. I mean, Labour are not even honest on that one.
No.
That was going to be one of their big strategies.
Right.
Do you remember they were going to get children off screens? Oh, no, that's been watered down.
Everything's watered down.
Everything is watered down. Oh, we're gonna go after the wealthy. Oh, guess what? Actually, now we've got loads of mates in the city. We're not going to do that. We're not going to.
Yeah.
I just think they don't even have the courage of their convictions.
No, they're just coming out with stuff now, which is, you know, I call it the lie of the day. Every time Keir Starmer puts out one of these ridiculous tweets, we can just absolutely name it that, because the front pages are all full of the story, but lots of commentary as well. Philip Ingram, who's a good friend of ours here at Talk, has written in the Mail, the minister's confusion on funding betrays the disarray at the heart of the MOD, and he's talking about how this is supposed to be a root and branch review of our military policy. However, Defence Secretary can't decide whether the target of 3% from the current 2.3% is going to actually happen. It's now an ambition, as you say, and it's an aim. So it won't ever get there. And Andrew Neil's written a piece as well. As Prime Minister faces rebellion over child benefit cap, Labour MPs are turning against their robotic, insipid leader. Starmer is shifting leftwards to save his own skin. I mean, you know, nothing much changes, does it? Nothing much changes, and the only time he's happy is when he's abroad giving away our money, I'm afraid. You know, when he's giving billions more to Ukraine or whatever it is. Meanwhile, people in this country are facing water shortages. Oh, by the way, if you want to give your kids a bath, you know, I mean, they're talking about tax on water. We'll come to that in a minute. Let's have a look on at number 10's tweet on defence.
First goal is always the safety and security of the United Kingdom. And that's why we're boosting defence spending, the largest sustained increase since the Cold War. An increase of £13.4 billion year on year. Not just meeting our commitment to spend 2.5% of our GDP on defence, but bringing it forward to 2027. And alongside that, a new ambition for defence spending to rise to 3% of GDP in the next Parliament. We'll publish a strategic defence review to determine how we can best meet the threats of today and return Britain to war-fighting readiness. Secure at home, strong abroad.
Sorry, secure at home. The guy who had his own house firebombed, right? I'm sorry. Strong abroad, really?
1,200 people coming in illegally was secure at home.
Yeah. Apparently Russia's got 65 nuclear submarines, and we're going to build 12.
And
How
also,
long is that going to take?
Not returning this country to peace, we're turning this country to a wartime...
Yeah, what's he talking about?
To war-fighting readiness.
Yeah. What's he talking about?
I really don't know.
Embarrassing yesterday at one point, John Healey was asked about the coalition of the willing.
Yes.
He didn't really know what to say, because it's like the slogans come and go. They kind of go,
yeah, I know, exactly. But that slogan. One, that's been wrongly interpreted. We don't use that one anymore.
We don't want to talk about that.
No.
I mean, it is absolutely staggering how completely facile so many of these messages now are. Because every time you look at any message that comes out of Number 10 Downing Street or Keir Starmer's account, all you see is an absolute barrage of abuse. Because nobody...
No, I know. Every single tweet.
Yeah, every single one.
Every single one.
Yeah.
Anything he says is now absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
And justifiably. It's not just nasty trolls online.
No.
Every single one says, but how can you say this when you literally can't even keep our border safe, for example?
Exactly.
You know, how can you say this when you've just taken all millions from pensioners and you're he's an absolute joke, this
man. It's disingenuous.
How can he go on?
I know.
And then you look at the people around him. You look at Rachel Reeves, who doesn't have an economic shred of expertise in her body. You look at John... You look at his, who's the guy, Lindsay Hoyle, just travelling around taking the absolute mickey, which I know we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about that later.
You look at Lord Hermer.
Lord Hermer's in the dock. He could be out of a job by the end of the week.
This is astonishing.
Yeah. We'll come to that in a second.
Exactly.
Because first I want to remind you of the last time that Keir Starmer was actually on a submarine. You might remember this. I'm sorry, I see no ships. Anyway, so that's Monday for you. Much to say, there he is, Starmer's looking out.
Was he looking for voters?
He's looking for any voters that actually want to actually vote for him anymore. He can't find them.